Well, thank you all for coming. I'm so excited to have such a great crowd here again for our second Burlington Wildways Conservation and Connection Summit. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. I'm Zoe Richards, and I am directing Burlington Wildways, which is a partnership organization, which you'll learn more about in a few minutes. And I just wanted to recognize our steering committee, because we're really a group of groups working together to get a lot of good conservation, connection, and access work done in the city. So if I could just have the steering committee stand up and introduce themselves. Maybe we'll just start over here with Lauren and who you are associated with. Well, I am actually going to turn it over to Bishop Ely to welcome you all to Rock Point. That's for future news.
Hi, Tom Ely. I serve as the Episcopal Bishop here and for the Episcopal Church of Vermont, and I get the great joy of living on this property. And I'm in my 18th year of this ministry. Want to welcome you to Rock Point Center here. This is a property that houses our school, Rock Point School, our diocesan office, this beautiful conference center facility, and of course the beautiful property that's here. So we welcome you to this place. Some of you know that we've just finished up a major fundraising effort on the part of the Episcopal Church of Vermont. We set a goal of $1.7 million for various projects on the property, and we've raised in excess of 1.9 million, back close to 2 million. And as a result of that effort, one of the great things that happened was that a coalition formed of the Burlington Parks Association, the Lake Champlain Land Trust, Rock Point, and the City of Burlington to actually help the effort around public access and trail improvements here on this property. And so that coalition came out of our talking about what we're doing here, making this facility, this sanctuary, more accessible to people, and conserving the property, placing most of the property into a conservation easement. Craig Smith's going to talk to you a little bit later about some of this, but I wanted to just highlight that and publicly thank the coalition for their effort in supporting what we're trying to do here at Rock Point, and welcome all of you to this expanding reality in Burlington about how we connect all our conservation efforts and trails, and a special thanks to Richard Dean for leading that effort through the City Council. So welcome to Rock Point. Enjoy your day. I'm going to be able to stay through lunch.
Richard Dean. I'm a Burlington City Councilor of just about 2 years now. This effort has been for me, something that I supported from the beginning. As I was beginning my campaign back a couple of years ago, it was one of the resolutions that I was able to work together with Zoe and with Alicia to write that actually kicked this initiative off and brought us support from the City Council level. And as I look back over some difficult decisions that have been made at the City Council level, this has not been one of them. This has been one of the things that really has kept me going in the times that kind of I go, gee, this is not exactly what I signed up for. But I think one of the other wonderful things that we have to celebrate is a city that's looking to the future. And my role here right now is to introduce our mayor, Murrow Weinberger, who I think has laid out a vision of the future Burlington, where we all have a vibrant economy, a growing downtown, jobs that support us, an innovative economy. But I think what he also understands, because he's a visionary guy, he thinks about the future. And he has been all behind the support for this initiative. We've brought him up to speed, I think, on what we've come to lately in terms of the progress we've made. We'll hear more about that today. But we have heard nothing but support coming to us from the administration. They understand how important there is the need for balance between the built environment and the natural environment. So with that, I'll turn it over to our mayor, Murrow Weinberger. Thank you for being here today, Mayor Weinberger.
All right. Well, good morning. Thank you, Richard, for that introduction. It is a true pleasure to have Richard as a colleague on the City Council. I am aware he may not have realized fully what he was signing up for when we we recruited him to get him involved, but we're very thankful for his service through the challenging times and through the moments of accomplishment and promise, which I think is what this morning is about. I'm super excited to be back with you. Thank you, Bishop Ely, for hosting this once again. Thank you to the whole steering committee. I'm glad we got a chance to hear a little bit about each person's role and how you've come to this work. This is a really exciting initiative, and to be back at the second annual kind of summit after a year of real accomplishment is really exciting and makes me very hopeful about where this effort is headed. I also want to look around the room, and I'm really excited to see so many members of the city team here playing a big role in the implementation. We have our Parks and Rec Director, Cindy White, here, and many members of the Park and Rec team, and I even see Scott Gustin from the Planning and Zoning team. And that is reflective, I think, of how excited the City Council and I are about this effort. So I thought I will try not to go on too long, but I do want to. I'm gonna like set a little timer for myself to ensure that, because sometimes when I get talking about these things I get excited about, suddenly the time slips away from me. I want to give it just a little bit of kind of the big picture of how I kind of the broader context that I see this work factoring into. This is all going to slide off when it goes down. And then let me speak a little bit more specifically about the initiative and some details about it and where I think it's headed and where, why I see it as so important. So it is a great joy of the mayor's job, as it is, in the mayor's office, it's like the one part of city government where you get to see the whole picture of what the organization is doing, and in many ways it's really one of the few places, maybe the place in the community, where you can get you get a sense of the whole scope of what is happening within the community and how everything fits together. And this work that you are pursuing, I see as being a piece of what has been, over the last 7 years, one of the most significant initiatives that the city has pursued. And that is, we have had the opportunity over the last 7 years and had some real success working with the Parks Commission, and I see Nancy Kaplan and John Bosange here, who have been such leaders on the Parks Commission and the Parks Foundation. We have had the opportunity to really expand the public open space in Burlington, and I think it's let me just hit the highlights of that, because I think I think we will look back. People will look back on this era and really think of it as really kind of a golden era of parks building and parks creation. We purchased and are in the process of improving a 12-acre parcel as part of the Cambrian Rise. Next to the Cambrian Rise project, we made these dramatic improvements to the urban reserve that really transformed that large section of the waterfront from this kind of post-industrial area into what is now primarily a great new park. And elements of it are actually, improved, finished parks now in a way that it was hard to imagine just a few years ago. Well, maybe we could imagine it, but it hadn't happened for a long time. We, working with Bishop Ely and this great coalition, the city's been proud to be a part of the assembly and preservation of the Arms Forest area and this incredible Rock Point Peninsula we're on, and ensuring that there will be protection and public access to these lands for, in perpetuity. We are about to open a new park on the west side of the water plant this summer that will be different than the rest of our lakefront parks. We'll have high amenity, lots of places for people to sit and enjoy trees and plantings and benches, and we see it as this great central part of that whole northern waterfront redevelopment, which has gone from being, again, this sort of post-industrial, forgotten part of the waterfront to now with the sailing center and the skate park and the improved bike path and the new marina open this summer, and hopefully not far behind it, the improved Moran plant, this hub of activity on the waterfront that park will be a part of. So, and more, but those are the highlights. So, it's been great work that so many in the room have been part of, and that I've been proud to be a part of, and I think we've capitalized on this opportunity and done a lot that will benefit the city for a long time to come. I think some people see this work as completely kind of different from, and maybe even in tension with, I think probably the way some people see it, with maybe the other huge push that the city's been engaged in for the last 7 years of this trying to achieve this vision that it envisions a Burlington where we have more neighbors, we have more people living in it, where the parking lots in the downtown get filled in with significant buildings, multi-story buildings that house businesses and people, where the other 20 so acres on Cambrian Rise are going to become the home to maybe 1,000 homes over time, where we turn a mall into a 1.5-story mall into a much more substantial mixed use community with jobs and homes and businesses. And I think to some people maybe that feels like those things feel very different from each other. To me, as I see it, these are very much bound together, these pieces of work, that I do think it is essential for us to become a bigger city, a denser city in the future, if we are going to be a place that continues to be a city of opportunity for Vermonters and Burlingtonians of all backgrounds, and for new Americans that are coming here from around the world. I think we have to be that growing city if we are going to kind of keep our historic place in this community, and we are going to see people of all backgrounds thrive. That success at that, though, I think to some people that sounds threatening to the Burlington we love today. I believe we can be the Burlington we are today, even more so, and be an even better place to live with an even higher quality of life if that effort is coupled with the expansion of our park system, is coupled with opening up these natural areas that are right here in the city to access for all, making the lake and the Intervale available to people. I think we can actually very much maintain what brought so many of us here and why so many of us have stayed here. That character of Burlington can be consistent with further growth. Your effort now to get specifically to what you're underway, I think, is a huge part of that. This Burlington Wildways effort holds the promise of unlocking these stunning natural resources that we have within the city limits and just adjacent to it, in a way that goes well beyond what we have today. I was just reflecting on just this kind of personal example from this past weekend that to me kind of talks to the potential of this effort. Somehow, I'm a cross-country skier. Our family loves cross-country skiing. We have lived here for almost 2 decades now. I'm well aware of the wonders of the Intervale, and yet I had not cross-country skied in the Intervale until the last couple of weekends. We always went to the golf course instead. I kind of knew it was there, but I didn't really think about it, and even though I lived blocks away from it. And the last 2 weekends have just been spectacular down there. The conditions have been perfect. We saw incredible barn owl down there while we were out this weekend. I know there have been bald eagle sightings in the Intervale in the last couple of weeks. So I just, to me, what you are after here of creating maps, creating trail networks, improving signage, getting the different partners that own different elements of this open space to work together better just has enormous potential. I'm reminded of the value that other trail networks have created in the way that they have sort of captured the public imagination, whether it's the Appalachian Trail or the Long Trail or the Colorado 10th Mountain Hut system, with that there's great power in doing what you're attempting to do here now, identifying, labeling, mapping, linking with maps, and we have such kind of raw materials to work with here in this community that we are, almost uniquely among significant American cities. We have 50% of our land's open spaces, about half of that wild spaces. There's such potential. I think it is an untapped potential. If a household like mine can fail to realize the potential of getting outdoors and cross-country skiing just a few blocks from our home, I think the potential of this network and coalition to reach Burlingtonians and visitors in a new way is kind of almost limitless. And I think we've gotten a great start in the work of the past year. The Parks and City team stands by ready to help this and to bring resources to it. And I just thank you on behalf of the community for having an interest in this and putting your time and energy towards it. And I think together we can really do enormous good together. I do wanna call out Zoe Richards and Richard Dean for their leadership on this issue. And really note that it is rare for a city initiative to move forward from the efforts of a single city councilor in the way that this one has. That is not typically, just the nature of volunteer city councilors and full-time administration, citizen activism. The kind of leadership that Councilor Dean is showing here is really impressive, and we're fortunate to have it on the council. So, with that, I hope I haven't gone on too long. I think my timer may have disappeared on me somehow, but maybe didn't quite hit that button right. I hope, thank you again. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you.
Thank you, Mayor Weinberger. Delightful to hear your enthusiasm and vision. I'm Stephanie Lehar, and I'm the MC facilitator for the day. And it's been my delight to be the planning consultant to the steering group for this wonderful coalition for the last 2 years. And it's also been my delight just to see the political will emerge to make this happen. I was also a founder of the Burlington Conservation Board in 1988, so it's especially delightful to see how things turn and evolve over time. So much emerges when there's that will and that coherence and that collaboration that happens. I wanted to also call out Kate McGowan, who's at the back of the room, and she is the director of Marlborough College's Center for New Leadership in the graduate school, and she's going to be assisting with some of the facilitation today, as well as steering group members, so thanks a lot. I wanted to just say a little bit about what's happening today, and it's not going to be a day where you sit around and just listen to people talk. And we're actually moving more than we expected, and I'll explain that in a moment. But in a moment, I'll just find out who's here. We'll do introductions in 2 ways. And then we are literally going to move the whole group. We're going to take a walk to the next building. It's not too cold to be out for just a minute.
But again, I just wanted to thank everyone, and I have the opportunity to just share with you all, or to introduce folks who are going to talk to you about some of the work that's happened over the last year for Burlington Wildways. And it's been a really exciting year for us. I think we've gotten a lot further than we ever would have imagined when we met 14 months ago. And it's been a powerful partnership. One of the things that we feel like we're doing is By all working together, we're able to kind of leverage a lot of infrastructure that we already have in place to get the work done. But I'm just going to, for people who didn't join us last year, I'm going to give you just a tiny bit of background, which is that, all of us know that Burlington is a fantastic place. I think we know it in our bones. And part of the reason is because the wild, I think, seeps in, even when you don't really expect it. Maybe it's not always as welcome as you'd want it to be. And one of those reasons is, Burlington has amazing natural borders on 3 sides, to the west, to the north, to the east. We're bounded by Lake Champlain on the west, Winooski River on the north and the east. We have a man-made boundary on the south and southeast. And so we get a lot of this kind of natural and wild creep through the city. And here's that same thing written in a different way, right? Here's some of the statistics. Burlington is 49% open space. These numbers come off of our open space plan. They're probably a little bit outdated, but they're basically true. And half of that open space, or a quarter of the city's total land area, is in natural areas. The natural areas are about 2/3 forested and 1/3 wetland, although some of that forested is forested wetland. And the other open spaces are kind of pretty typical kind of open space. Well, actually not for a city. We have quite a lot of ag land, but we also have golf courses, cemeteries, etc. And Burlington is unusual. It is unusual. For a city of its size, having that much open space is unusual. We have a floodplain to thank for a good portion of that, but it is not just the floodplain. This whole Rock Point Arms Forest is, do we know what the total acreage of that is? 170 acres, roughly, right between the two, in the core of the city, is really fantastic. And there are a lot of other spots too, Leddy and Centennial Woods, UVM Centennial Woods, that are really significant non-floodplain open space that we have in the city. And so one of the things that we came to realize was that, we have such a gift. We have this amazing gift of open space. But many of the citizens don't recognize that we've got open space. And there are a lot of reasons for that. The open space is under multiple ownerships. While the owners are very public friendly, we have not habitually worked together in order to kind of foster people being able to move across the landscape as they want to, or wildlife. So if you want to get from one side of the Intervale to the other side of the Intervale, there are 11 owners, and that partially explains why there's not a trail that goes from one side to the other. There is, but you kind of have to know how it's signed. When Intervale's made great progress in awesome signage on their land, but their land stops where it stops, and then you move on to some other land that isn't signed. And so, one of the things that we decided to do was to try to make a difference in that. And about a year and a half ago, Richard Dean wrote a city council resolution that recognized the amazing natural areas that we have. And just as a side note, not only are they natural areas, but they're ecologically significant natural areas. They're very varied, they're extremely rich. And that resolution outlined what it is that we have in the city. It recognized the problem of conservation and management, and it recognized that we don't have great access in spots to that, and we feel like that's kind of an open space justice issue for folks who don't have the ability to hop in their car and go and hike Camel's Hump. Having these amazing spaces in the city available to all citizens is a priority. So what the resolution did is it said, okay, all you land managers, go out there and do something about it. And so here we are, trying to do something about it. And in the last year, we have been meeting regularly, monthly, and the meetings are about specific items. How are we working with arms? Can we put a trail from Salmon Hole through to Ethan Allen Park? There are spaces where many of the land managers are just near each other, and so that brings a lot of benefit to it too. Sharing resources, helping each other with the capacity to figure out how you might conserve a piece of land. And it's been a really creative, productive, incredible group to be involved with. And I'm lucky enough to be able to pass the baton or the clicker over to some folks who are really doing the great work on the ground. And I'll just say one last thing, which is one of the things that the structure of Wildway is really trying to focus on is the city of San Francisco has been leading a movement that is trying to have urban biodiversity and ecological function be a key tenet of sustainable cities. So when we talk about being a sustainable city, that kind of ecology, functional ecology, is part of that. It's not just green, renewable power and bike lanes, all of which are important. And they have a tagline which they call "Find, Tend, and Grow the Wild" in the city of San Francisco. And that really appealed to us as we kind of talked about that kind of idea. And one of the things that we're just on the front end of trying to do is help people find the wild. We just got a website up last night, thanks to Pete Land, who's here from Tamarack Media. And we hope ultimately that you'll be able to use the website to ask the question, hey, where can I go for a walk? And what's interesting about that place? What's the story that we can learn about that place? And so this is just a little sample page over here from for Ethan Allen Park with the trails, what you might find there. It's in a skeletal form right now, our website, but you should look to see it grow and become richer and more useful over the course of the next year.
Hello, and if you're jealous of the hat, the swag, it's a hack. I actually took one of the stickers and sewed it. But hats will be coming, so please stay tuned. So many of you who were here last year, or maybe who caught us at some of the NPA meetings, remember that we went on a Natural Wonders tour of Burlington, the 7 Natural Wonders. We nominated a few, but we also handed out a ballot and asked people to fill that out. And you realize we thought there might be more than 7, so we stretched the 7 concept a little bit. So we took it out to the NPAs, and Zoe and I became quite bonded over the dragon of incompatible technology we found resides in every corner of the city. But we did get things going in every ward, and as you will notice from this slide, as we were introduced in these wards, we quickly became apparent we needed a name change, because there was kind of a garbled introduction of what used to be our old name. So we did get results, and I know you're all anxiously awaiting those. We originally reached out to the UVM Spatial Analysis Lab to look at our data. But it turned out the UVM Daycare Center was cheaper. So we had them. They mostly were able to stay within the lines, and they could count to 50. So we're looking at NPA results and results from the summit. We asked the daycare center if they could do an analysis of variance to see if there is a difference between the two groups, and the teacher said they hadn't learned that yet, which makes you wonder what they're really teaching kids in preschool. But the take-home message is there are 10 natural wonders in Burlington that showed up repeatedly on ballots throughout the city, and they are in order of preference, again, based on a small sample. But Lake Champlain itself, Rock Point, the Winooski River, the Intervale, and we could combine those probably because they're so closely related. The Intervale Sea Cave, which is in Arthur Park, more or less, Centennial Woods, Oak Ledge Park, Arms Forest, Redstone Quarry. These are many of these names that we heard today from you, and last, Ethan Allen Park. So we're going to take a tour of some of these sites, and we're going to have the partners who are working in some of these areas talk about what they're up to. So we're starting in Salmon Hole.
Yeah, so I'm Lauren Chakotay with the Winooski Valley Park District. Salmon Hole is one of the 18 parks that the Park District manages within the greater Burlington area in the lower Winooski River. I'm sure many of you have probably gone there to look at the various wildlife that's there. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the first connected trail aspect that this Burlington Wildways initiative is starting to really put together.
I think the work that we've done, the Intervale has done with Wildways, is really a good metaphor for a lot of the work that Wildways is doing, in that we're a diverse landscape. We have agriculture, we have recreation, we have these trails, and then all this is on top of this really culturally significant landscape that's been recognized by humans for thousands of years to have value. And so all of this mixed together, you know, finding the unifying themes that bring these together, you know, conservation really sticks out.
I'm going to have you guys think about what that might be and where I might have seen it. I'm Kate Cruzy. I'm a plant conservation volunteer, but as a plant, I monitor rare plants, and I'm really into telling their stories and getting landowners excited. And I realized, oh, there's so many landscape stories to tell, and Wildways would be a great group to tell a lot of Burlington stories, whether they are natural history or human history, in a connected manner across Burlington's landscapes.
So the process back and forth with boards, our board, their board, back and forth, you know, some lags and all of that stuff, took about 2 years, and we came up with a letter of agreement.
Serendipitously, with the update of the Arms Forest Management Plan that we're working on, the state has released the Vermont Conservation Design. And so we've decided to kind of use that as one of the, not necessarily a template, but as a guide for how we look at management plans, and then how we then build that out to the greater community. So.
All right, so I'm Cindy White, Director of Parks, Recreation, and Waterfront.
My name is Patty Parks, Comprehensive Planner, Burlington Parks, Recreation, Waterfront.
That's right. So we get to talk about the Urban Reserve and Oak Ledge Park, but just to start really quickly on our system themes, this came up with our master plan.
And the timing was really great when Audubon Vermont and Gwen came to us with an idea to kind of create more bird habitat and really educate the public on the importance of bird habitat in Vermont. So we applied for a grant and we got some funding to do.
And there's just some really neat little byways like that in the city, and those are things that we kind of aspire to in the future that'll, you know, allow people to really get out, you know, into our wildlands more and more. But with that, I think we've done a really, you've gotten the full tour of Burlington.